So you made it through the 6-month crucible, the bruises, the gassing out, and the ego death. You stayed and you adapted. But now here comes the trap. You start to feel like you've actually arrived, like the hardest part is behind you. But you're wrong. That feeling is just a lie, dressed up as confidence. Because when the ego returns, as it will, it doesn't shout, it whispers. And it sounds a lot like ambition. Now it's time to start dominating. I'm ready for that next strike. I just have to keep showing them. Sound familiar? It's a disguise that wears the mask of hunger, but it's the same old voice that pushes you to climb faster, train harder, and keep chasing. It seems noble on the surface, but it's that kind of fire that consumes far more than it creates. So the real battle is with that fire itself, and whether or not you can keep it lit without burning yourself alive. And that's what we're talking about today. Now that you've gotten past that first 6 months and how to keep yourself grounded and learning. Welcome to the Alchemy of Struggle, baby. So let's talk about the first part of this trap. It's something I call validation maintenance. The early days of Jiu-Jitsu were pure survival, and you've gotten through that. And honestly, no one really expected much of you anyway. You were basically invisible. But then you make it through the crucible, and something shifts. You start hitting those sweeps and passing those guards. And people start to notice. That blue belt tells you, hey man, nice roll. The coach gives you a nod, and you start hearing people whisper, yo, he's getting better. So after months of doubt and chaos, it's a small signal that you're finally on the right path. But here's the danger. If you give too much weight to that kind of stuff, those compliments, those high fives, and those nice rolls, bro, you start feeling like you have to live up to those expectations. You start thinking to yourself, I have to keep impressing them. They expect more from me now. I cannot have an off night. And before you realize it, training turns into performing. You start rolling for optics instead of awareness. You avoid risks that might make you look bad. You hide your weaknesses instead of working on them. And this is where ego finds the opportunity to sneak back onto the mats. It wears a compliment like a crown. So you start chasing approval instead of improvement. And look, I've been there. Oh man, I can't believe that guy's in his 40s. Oh, he moves so well. Oh, if he goes to a local tournament, oh, he's going to dominate. That trap of validation maintenance does not feel toxic at first. It feels a lot like motivation. But here's the problem. Your why has shifted. You're no longer rolling to learn. You're rolling to maintain a perception. And if you're smart, you realize that you're not exploring anymore, that you're just defending your status as a 2-stripe white belt. It sounds ridiculous because it is. And that shift is so quiet that it pulls you off center without you noticing. So the real question becomes, can you remain grounded in learning mode even when people are starting to pay attention? You can either keep performing or come back to practice. And this is the point that most people miss. They either keep grinding to protect that fragile image or they burn out trying. But now let's talk about the turning point from performing back to training. The ones who make it through this next phase, they course correct. So the goal shifts again from being impressive to being honest with themselves. They go from, who saw that? To, what did I just learn from that? And this is when real growth picks up again. This next phase of Jiu-Jitsu, it's not about leveling up. It's about leveling out. Training without a spotlight. Being okay when you plateau, because you will. And choosing depth over drama. And if you can do that, if you can live in that valley without chasing the next peak, that's when the real martial artist starts to emerge. So now, the $1 million question, how do you stay lit without getting burned? First, you have to fall in love with boring reps again. Keep drilling that guard recovery. Not because it's sexy, but because it works. Re-anchor your training sessions to curiosity instead of performance. And get back to asking, what did I learn today? Instead of, who did I beat today? Next, you want to set what I like to call anti-ego goals. Something like, this month, I won't avoid that one guy that keeps smashing me. This week, I'm going to try a sweep that I always miss, and I'm going to try it in every roll. Next, you have to redefine what progress looks like. It's not promotions. It's certainly not praise. And it's not performance. It's precision under pressure. It's calm in the chaos and peace in motion. Remember this, belonging isn't earned at the top of the mountain. It's built in the difficult climb that you don't post about on social media. So look, I know after all of this, there's someone right now cursing me out, probably saying something like, man, this sounds a lot like you're telling people to just be soft and not to have goals and not to push hard. So let me be clear. This isn't about coasting, and it isn't about going soft. It's about sustainable training, because pushing hard without clarity, that's not hunger or grit. It's desperation in disguise. And chasing greatness from a place of insecurity, that does not make you dangerous. It makes you fragile. I'm not saying don't push. I'm not saying don't get after it. I'm saying push with rhythm, push with purpose, and with restraint. The kind that keeps you training well into your 50s instead of being sidelined in your 30s. So if you're in that strange middle zone where you're not quite a beginner, not quite intermediate, and certainly not advanced, this part really matters, because this is where so many people stall out, or snap, or just completely disappear. Not because they weren't tough enough, but because they couldn't hold that flame without getting consumed by it. So if this hit home, please drop a comment and let us know where you are along that path. And make sure you check out parts 1 and 2 of this series. Both of those videos will be linked at the end of this one. And look, before we go, I just want to say thank you to all of you. I started this channel back in March, and up until about 6 or 8 weeks ago, there were only about 100 subscribers. And now we're approaching the 3,000 mark. And that's really because of all of you. The great comments you've left, you're sharing the content, you're subscribing yourselves, and you're showing up in big ways. And a lot of you have said, man, you should really have a lot more subscribers. But you gotta remember, the channel is still young, but this community is growing fast. And so if you've been around since the early days, you know the drill. There are others who need to hear this message. So let's help them find it. Like, share, and subscribe. Keep up the good fight and stay safe on those mats. Peace.